Hey everybody, welcome to OnPodcast, the Microsoft.com website podcast. We took a break for a little bit, but we're back. We're going to be going through a bunch of stuff that we missed from last week, stuff we think that is going to be happening next week. My name is Kareem Anderson. I'm also joined by the world's greatest co-host.
Arif Bacchus.
Yeah, and let's just kind of jump into to the news, shall we?
So, the first topic that we'll be talking about this week is Microsoft's annual holiday commercial. There was a little bit of not really controversy, but a lot of people were talking about the commercial and the meaning behind the commercial. So, we'll be talking about that and giving our own thoughts about what this commercial is all about.
Yeah, we also got some good news last week for those of us who are looking to finally start seeing some features come back into Windows. We have news Microsoft actually acknowledging their new Windows Feature Experience Pack. We'll kind of delve into that and see what that means going forward for Windows development and Windows insiders.
And let's not forget Android apps on Windows. There were also some rumors about this last week, which was Thanksgiving week. So Kareem and I will just recap that and give our thoughts about what's happening with these rumors about Android apps coming to Windows 10 and even maybe even the Windows Store in Windows 10.
Yeah, could be. And then we're also jumping into, because I mean, it's still holiday season, so Microsoft has revived their ugly sweater campaign and marketing. So they're reissuing some of those. I don't know where the store stands with them, but if you're interested in them, we'll start talking about that as well.
If you could find one, that is.
Yes, it's interesting. I mean, again, this might be an Xbox situation where they just make limited numbers to make it seem better than it is, or maybe just that many people were that in love with the Windows 95 logos.
And let's not forget the week ahead segment, which this week has a lot of Surface news.
Yeah, well, fortunately, both Arif and myself have Surface Go's and Surface Go 2s. So we're going to kind of be presenting them in comparison to not only market competitors like the iPad, but also device line competitors like the Surface Go laptop and kind of see where the Surface Go stands and where the Go line is going in the future.
And then there's also a little bit of chat about Microsoft Flight Sim. You guys might have heard some news about that, so we'll touch on that a bit and recap that for the week ahead.
And then we'll kind of lastly wrap up with more dev builds. If we're going to be seeing new features, I mean, again, we don't expect a ton of work out of the Microsoft campus in the next 3 weeks or so, but hey, they might have had stuff scheduled, ready to run for the next couple weeks or so.
So get us started with this holiday commercial that everyone is talking about.
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
know
jumped
you
in.
wrote a piece about it.
I did. I wrote a piece about it, and it was in response to another journalist, Sean, over at Windows Central. And my piece wasn't necessarily to contradict or as a rebuttal or anything. It's just a different take. His take, which I believe is it's a very valid one. And a lot of people online have felt that this year's 2020 commercial was somber at best and depressing at worst. And it has a depiction of a dog who kind of goes from family member to family member looking for what we perceive as attention and only to be left ignored. And at the end of the day, or at the end of the night, he ends up just dreaming about using all of the Microsoft technologies and having fun doing so. And as Sean kind of rightly points out, for anybody who's a pet owner, anybody who has empathy at all for animals, that the video itself, leaves you wanting, and it's not as heartwarming or refreshing as some of the previous videos or from other competitors. And
I
so again, I offered my piece.
I think that it's not an all so bad holiday commercial because in a way we all can relate to Rufus the dog because of the COVID-19 pandemic we all are focused on our business and Zoom chats and team chats and being separated from family and in a way even though it seems like they're not wanting to play with Rufus and that they're focused on their work he found his own joy and he separated himself from the world by dreaming of Teams and dreaming of Flight Sim and dreaming of all these Microsoft products.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I don't want to sound like an apologist for the ad because I didn't have any part in it. It doesn't matter to me how much or how little they make from it, or whatever. Ads like this don't really work on me to begin with. I buy my products outside of the holiday season. They don't really pull on the heartstrings. But the way I saw it was everyone in this video found their own joy, even though it's kind of dystopian in the way it's done, where everyone's kind of sitting isolated from one another, even though they're in the same household. But if you, kind of go into, all of the things that are happening in the background, all the situations that are going on, and that it's sad for another reason, not for Rufus, but for the fact that we're all kind of stuck. And I use the snow that's in the video as kind of a backdrop for people not being able to go outside. How we're all kind of stuck, and we're just trying to find our joy in the situation. The dad's playing Flight Simulator, which you might relate to.
Yeah.
The mom's on a Teams call. I don't know how much joy is in that, but she's at least able to communicate with people, and it seems like she's communicating with people internationally. The daughter is playing Minecraft, and the son is playing on the Xbox, and each person has found their own thing, and now it's left to the dog to find his. And a lot of people like to kind of project that the dog wants to be played with and wants to do that, but I'm like, at the end of the night, the dog doesn't dream about being played with. He doesn't dream about his belly rubs. He doesn't dream about food. He's dreaming about using the same stuff that his family members are using, finding his joy in this. And that's where I kind of we differ from what Sean wrote and from what I wrote. But again, I suggest people go read both. Read mine first, read his, and just kind of and watch the video. Obviously determine for yourself how Microsoft may have either missed the mark wide, rightly captured the sad reality of our situation now going into 2021, or maybe have an entirely different interpretation. But yeah, they tried. It's 2020, and we'll see how everyone else kind of rolls out their holiday ads coming up.
But the fact that we're talking about it means that they did their job, right?
Exactly. Yeah, for better or for worse. I think even if they hit it out of the park, I don't know if they would have gotten this much attention from it. And the sad part is that we're talking about the dog and less about the actual. Like I just mentioned that there's
Yeah, of
Minecraft
course,
and
yeah.
there's Teams, there's Surfaces, all everywhere abound. There's a new Xbox, but everyone's focused on the dog. So maybe that's why they messed up.
That's a good segue for our second topic, which is Microsoft starting to ship some new Windows 10 features to insiders through the Windows Feature Experience Pack. Now, you guys might have remembered a couple of months back, I think it was in April or May or probably February or March, where I think it was Mary Jo Fowley. She put out this piece saying that people spotted this mysterious thing in the Windows 10 settings called the Feature Experience Pack. And now Microsoft has finally come out and explained what it is. So if you missed the blog post from the insider team, they basically are saying that starting from now and onwards, they will be shipping new Windows 10 features to insiders through the Windows Feature Experience Pack instead of requiring users to install full builds. Now, for now, it's not all across the insider program. It's only in the beta branch, and they had a version, let me get the numbers, 120.221.1070.0, which they released earlier in the week. And
Are you
they
sure those are all the
believe,
right numbers?
I'm pretty sure, I'm looking at the blog post right now. Yeah, but they basically, what they explained is that they believe they can improve certain features and experience in Windows 10 without actually updating with a full build. So right now, it didn't actually introduce any new features. It was just introducing two previous features which we already saw in older builds, which was the Win, Shift, and S to screen snip your screen, and then the touch keyboard and portrait posture thing, which we saw earlier this year. But I think maybe it's a hint of what's to come. Maybe we could be seeing more modular version of Windows and more new Windows 10 features. I know you're always looking forward to things like that.
Yeah, again, as an insider for the last, I don't know, 7, 8 years, I felt like the last 2 years, Microsoft just kind of pumped the brakes on features, which, again, for a while, they were being criticized that features are breaking stuff that people needed, and I totally understand. But I feel like the evolution of Windows is definitely slowed to a crawl. And, not that we need a bunch of new things. The operating system is almost, what is it, 30, almost 40 something years old. So it is what it's going to be. but I'd like to see new stuff. And this way that they're doing it reminds me of my Pixel phone, and how you're able to get monthly updates to the operating system,
Feature
feature drops.
drops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and get those and get new features and get tweaks and stuff to the camera. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm glad they acknowledge it. I don't know if this will tie into Windows 10X, which I know a lot of people have kind of made that leap to, saying like, oh, this is where they kind of branch off and start doing that. I don't think that's how that's going to work. I think this is more for maintaining the enterprise base in Windows 10 as it is today, and then moving another version of Windows 10 for consumers beyond that. So they don't have to worry, they don't have to worry the admins and the IT people about new updates. They can say, here's your version that stays locked at Windows 10, all those numbers you just said, and then here's the consumer version for all you people like Lenovo and everybody else to kind of push new support for new formats and things like that.
So, do you think that this is good or this is bad? Like, I know IT admins, they hate new features. So, you think it's Microsoft's way of turning Windows back the way it was before, where I think Vista and XP and even Windows 7, they had Service Pack updates. So, is this Microsoft going the way of back in time of introducing less features and focusing more on patching rather than pushing out new and exciting things in Windows?
I think it's actually both. I think it's literally going to be here's maintenance mode for anybody who needs Windows 10 as is. You've taught everybody in your company how to use it and everything like that, and you have all your tie-ins to it. And now they're going to be able to branch off and give you and me, like if they want to change the keyboard, if they want to do crazy things with the touch interface, they'll be able to do that. While IT is still saying this is the version we want to maintain. We get all the security stuff. We get all of, and if they see something that they like in the new rollouts, they'll be able to kind of jump on that branch as well. Versus what we kind of have now, where they just push everything, and IT has to basically hold the dam, saying we'll hold updates for 6 months before we release them to everybody, and hopefully Windows doesn't do it overnight for us.
But something that a lot of people have really wanted ever since Microsoft had Project Astoria, which is bringing not Windows apps, Android apps to Windows. Apparently, it's going to be revived a bit, and I'll let Kareem talk
Segway.
about it now.
Yeah, ever since even before that, when BlueStacks was a thing on Windows, people have been trying to get Android apps on there. And as someone who used, a lovely device in the Chromebook Duet, and have used other Chrome OS operating systems, on devices since then, with the Android apps included, I don't want to put a big damper on this, but I don't see the benefit for it. But
Oh,
I'll get into that in a second. But I mean, more specifically,
it's
we got
still a
who's
rumor, not
yeah,
official, just to be clear.
exactly. I was going to say Zach over at Windows Central mentioned that he has contacts, people he's talking to, that are talking about this new project called Latte, I think, Latte. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. Microsoft some new way of pronouncing it, but Latte is supposed to be bringing Android apps as soon as next year, 2021. We don't know what the time frame could be. I don't think it has anything to do with this new feature pack either. But it's something that I believe people want. I know that Microsoft has been testing it at least for 4 years or more on how they can do that. Now that Windows 10 has this new Linux subset, some people are figuring that this could be the workaround, and that there's going to be some kind of crafty implementation done in order to bypass Google Play, the necessity for Google Play services, and be able to kind of bring your Google or your Android apps to the Windows Store. Now, again, I doubt Google's going to allow this to happen. So maybe stuff like Google Maps, all the Google required stuff will be locked, or developers have to figure out a way to not call to the Play Service Store in order to run all of their applications. So I have to figure out a way to do that through the Microsoft Store.
Zach, I believe he wrote that it's going to allow app developers to package their Android apps as MSIX and release them to the store that way with little to no code changes. But we know how these things go. It's not always bread and butter, and it's not always smooth. So definitely seems like something that Microsoft, if it's real, Zach is usually reliable. So
Well,
so
they also said that
if it,
about
it
yeah, they used the term little to no with
yeah.
UWP, and we found that out to be kind of misleading, where a lot of Universal Windows developers were angry because there was so much more that had to be done. There was so much extra work that had to be done, even though they had all these new tools to kind of mitigate all that. So, as you know, Zach says, little to no. Just remember, little is not completely no. So,
And again, like you said, a lot of these apps depend on the Play services, so it's not necessarily something that's that easy to do.
yeah,
So they do have a long, long road ahead of them. Even Google struggles with this on Chrome OS, where not all Android apps run on certain laptops and certain
yeah.
tablets.
Well, that's what I was going to get to at the beginning of this. I said all that to say this is that you got to remember that Android apps, even though we have a touch screen, which is beneficial, better than those M1 Max with the iOS apps, you have a touch screen thing. These things are designed for phones. Like they're designed to be mobile. They're designed to use the camera facing outwards. And a lot of people don't have that on their computers. These when I used the Chromebook Duet with Chrome OS, I found that the Chrome browser was amazing, but when I ventured into Android land and Android apps, it was a really poor experience. And so, even though we'll be able to bring the Instagram app from Android, I think the Windows one is serves just as well. Same thing for Twitter. Same thing for I think the web version of Snap is pretty good and stuff like. I mean, I don't know this huge crave to have all these Android apps on Windows and how that benefit people. Maybe a few games.
But you could already technically run in codes. I mean, it's through the network and through streaming and Bluetooth, but you could run Android apps on Windows through, I think it's your phone or your phone apps or
Yeah,
whatever
you
they
could. Yeah,
call.
you can mirror your
You could
experience.
mirror
So
it, yeah.
yeah.
So it's not like it's something new for Microsoft. They've been pretty close with Google and working together on bringing Android and Windows closer together. So who knows? Maybe next year is the year of Android and Windows finally coming together as one.
I mean, yeah, a lot of people were kind of rubbing their hands and getting these like Grinch-like smiles about being able to compete with the M1 and its new bevy of iOS apps. And again, I think out of all the reviews that I've read about for the M1, the iOS apps were the biggest downfall in any of that. Like the battery was amazing, the translations were great, the speed's awesome. But whenever people said they ventured into iOS apps, which again were designed for mobile, just like Android, they had an issue. And I feel like this potential rush. Again, it's just a rumor, but this potential rush to bring Android is going to have the same fall for everything. I think at this point, everybody, and I'm speaking to developers, speaking to Microsoft, Apple, Google, needs to invest in PWAs. Like that's the easiest way to make our computer battery life, especially people who are using Edge, shoot up. Not these .exes or anything bought from the Play Store and run natively. Just run it through the browser. Your battery life's going to be amazing. Developers don't have to find which platform they're developing for. Just get into PWAs, people, please.
I'm just looking forward to folding back my Surface Go and having TikTok running on it and being able to run TikTok on Windows 10. It's my dream come true, especially for such a thing that's this small and this compact.
Yeah, and if they can make a browser experience similar to like Instagram, I don't see why that wouldn't be a great thing for everybody.
And something that everybody is talking about and something that a lot of people talked about since Microsoft
Yeah,
announced
another
it.
big want.
It's their new software in quotation marks, which is the Windows Ugly Sweater. You
Yeah,
guys probably remembered a couple years ago they only sent out these special holiday sweaters to influencers like MKBHD and Tom Warren and some of the Microsoft journalists out there.
I
But
think
this
Brad
year,
got him, Paul.
yeah. And this year, it's finally your chance to buy one, and buying one will help contribute. Microsoft will donate. I think they're priced at $60, and out of the $60, Microsoft donates 20 to girls who code. So your buying one helps a good cause, and the sweater is themed towards Microsoft Paint this year. So it's a. I'll have the screenshot up in the video, of course. It's a nice sweater, but apparently everyone bought them all up and they're out of stock. So Microsoft updated us. I think it was Thursday or Friday, and they said that they're working to bring it back. And if you really do want one to show off Paint or Windows XP or Windows 95 in style and be happy about it, you'll be able to get one pretty soon. Soon in quotation marks.
Yeah, I mean, we were discussing this off camera and off mic about soon just being the new company logo. That's what they should have. Soon TM. Yeah, I mean, I think it's again, it's awesome that they found a way to pivot the popularity from this ugly sweater craze that people have, and put it towards something good. I mean, STEM is always something that more people should be involved with, especially girls as well. You know, just having more diversity and people building things for other people is awesome. And when you have women being able to build, you build products that have more empathy in general. So yeah, I'm happy to see that. I wish the sweater was less. I wish it was like 40 bucks and half of that, 20 bucks, still went there. It's kind of expensive for something that's ugly, quote unquote. But yeah, I would hope that I can get my hands on one if they come back around. I likened this earlier when you and I were talking about being, kind of like the Xbox thing where you make a limited amount, gain all the hype and all the like sold out coverage, everyone's saying it's sold out, to then garner the interest further. So maybe we'll see a restock of some sort in the next couple weeks before the holiday season. But good on you, Microsoft, for doing something nice and having fun with it too.
And there are a couple of different sweaters, just to be clear. There's this year's one is themed towards paint, and last year's one, I believe, is themed towards Windows 7 and Windows 7 and XP with the giant Windows logo in the middle. And then the one before that was themed towards Windows 95 with the classic Windows 95 logo. And all are available for sale through the Xbox Gear Store if you could find one in stock.
Well, that's the crazy thing is that they're making this, and again, whoever is the genius behind this, I'd love to sit down and kind of pick your brain. But they're making, as they make different sweaters each year, it's becoming a collector's item through these themes. Because you're not going to be getting a Windows 95 3 years from now, so you have to get it. 3 years ago, you have to get this one this year because Paint. Maybe they'll move on to hopefully Clippy in 2021. Who knows?
They'll finally remove Paint in favor of Paint 3D, which like literally no one uses.
I tried Paint 3D for like 6 months, and it again, it's an awesome app. It has a ton of features, but I think there was something blissful about the straightforwardness of Paint.
It's also the nostalgia, just getting it running just the same way that you are familiar with it on Windows 95 and all those other versions of Windows. It just makes you feel good opening it up and having that nostalgia right there and drawing skies and
Yeah,
grass and
well,
shapes and all kinds of
and like I
things.
said, I love the UI of Paint 3D. It's just I feel like they put a lot in there, and there's a lot of hidden menus that Paint didn't originally have. Like once you get into Paint, you know where everything's at the top of the ribbon, and you know how to kind of it's all laid out in front of you. Paint 3D, you have to like click into stuff, and there's drop downs and there's swipe overs. Hey, nice try. Let's rework it.
And I think that's our last topic. So now it's time to get into the week ahead.
Yeah, this is also the fun part of this podcast is you got your Surface Go 2, which you've
Yep.
been showing off quite a bit. I have
Yep.
one as well, and I had been kind of teasing this that I did my review and kind of wrote about how well I was able to kind of travel with it. I went on the beginning of quarantine or the height of quarantine. Can't say height. I guess we're in height now. The first wave of height of quarantine. I went on vacation to get away. My family went to New Hampshire where the numbers were low, and I took it hiking with me. I took it on a boat. We went on boat trips several times. I was able to kind of just run my office and everything I work with it. It has connectors for it and peripherals can plug into it. It's an amazing device. I've said that over and over. Now you have it, and you're going to be doing some comparisons, right?
Yep, I'm planning to compare it to the iPad Air 3, which is the I guess you could consider it an outdated iPad by now because Apple has the iPad 4 with the slimmer bezels. But point taken, it's still for sale, and people are still buying the iPad Air
And it
3.
runs the latest iOS, right?
Yeah, yeah, both run both the Air 4 and the Air 3 run the latest iOS. So I think it's worth a comparison.
Yeah, I
So
definitely. And like I said, and then as you're doing the more tablet version of the comparison, even though both can be operated as a laptop or desktop, I'm going to be pairing it against its own product line in the Surface Laptop Go. I referenced earlier that the Go is probably going to be Microsoft's entry version. They may make a Surface Book Go at some point or something like that. Uh, but yeah, I want to see how if people were more apt to buy the Laptop Go versus the Surface Go 2. I find more versatility in the Surface Go 2. Spoiler alert. But the Laptop Go is still a decent device. So I just want to kind of see where you get your best money or where you get more bang for your buck for the two products.
I myself also have both right now. I got the laptop Go for my other publication, and I still have it on my desk. And I got the Go 2 the other day, and I basically used the Go 2 as my main PC since it arrived. And this little thing just keeps on chugging. There's no stopping it. I mean, obviously you can't edit videos and do Photoshop on it.
You would think so, but I did do some video editing. Again, these videos were like at the max 10 minutes long, and it takes forever. It chugs, but it can get it done if it's in a pinch. Like if you're out and about and someone gives you an SD card and says, "Hey, I need you to kind of do some quick edits for me or whatever," photographers, things like that. It can do it. It'll just take forever. So
But for getting real work done, the Go 2 is definitely to me a better buy than the iPad Air 3 because especially you could just plug it into a monitor and expand your productivity and get the desktop versions of things that you're familiar with, whereas on the iPad you're just limited to stacking things side by side on that tiny screen. It's just not the same.
no, I totally agree. And like I said, I find it to be one of the most underrated Surface products of 2020 and the most versatile of 2020. And this is why, and just kind of going back to when you had a Duo, that I felt like it could also be compared to the Duo, especially in lieu of quarantine, where the Duo was supposed to be this on-the-go desktop, versatile working little station that everyone's going to have. Now that we're all at home, I feel like the 10-inch size of the Surface Go 2, and being able to kind of do split screen on there suffices for more, does more for people than the Duo would.
So enough about Surface. Let's
Yeah, we
talk
have tons of
about
that.
let's talk about something that is always a hot topic.
Near and dear
Microsoft
to your heart.
Microsoft Flight Sim is apparently getting a VR update on December 23rd. So we expect to probably I might buy a VR headset and try and get some hands-on time with that and talk about the experience with
I
that
was going to
because
say, have you had any crashes in Flight Sim? Because this will take it to a whole nother level if you crash with a
I
VR headset on.
imagine like having the headset on and then like driving piloting nose first down
Yeah, that's what I
into
was
the
going to say.
Pacific Ocean from like
You might
50,000
throw up all
feet.
over your living room.
Exactly. So it seems like a topic that'll be big moving forward, and we're looking forward to testing out this update and getting our hands on with it and trying it out in VR and seeing what Microsoft
Yeah,
has to offer.
I wonder if Microsoft has been not so secretly, but like privately testing out VR with actual pilots because I feel the immersion aspect of VR and the fidelity of the flight sim is perfect to do course training, especially now. Again, where people can't be in the same areas, same rooms together, you give this set to your pilot to keep them fresh and sharp on the go or whatever. So I just wonder if they've already been doing this.
I just wonder what it will work with because you remember Windows Mixed Reality?
Does anybody?
Exactly. So what are they gonna do it with? Will it be with like Steam VR or Windows Mixed Reality, or
I
is it
think
gonna
that
be with Oculus?
I think it actually be all the above. I mean, Windows Mixed Reality still gets updates. I mean, I still see it getting updated when I go into the Windows or the Microsoft Store to update all apps. It still gets patches and updates. I don't know for what because I don't have a headset. But Yeah, there are people still, presumably using it.
So enough about that. Just move us on to our back to Windows 10 and talk about what you expect from that moving forward, and maybe even how it might relate to the Apple M1 chip and something about Surface, which we might expect this year. I mean next year.
Yeah, yeah. We're talking about feature packs and kind of where Microsoft's going in the future. And that's while it's software in design, there's still architecture that Microsoft has to kind of figure out going forward. And with that being said, we're seeing what we think is a relative step back as far as building out new designs for the Surface laptops, knowing the Surface Pro 8 and Surface Laptop 4 would just be spec bumps. But one of the specs that people have started to take notice is that the Surface Laptop 4 will be running potentially AMD's new, what is it, Ryzen 7?
I believe it's called their new Vega chips. AMD Wenroar chips. That's the code name for it.
Correct. And they have like this beefier GPU on there, so we're expecting better graphical performance. And they're supposed to be how much fast? They're supposed to be significantly faster. So and we saw that Microsoft had tested out AMD with the Surface Laptop 3, and it was to mixed reviews as far as battery life was probably the biggest disappointment of the thing, and that there were just some very super niche apps that weren't written for AMD. So people have issue with compatibility to that extent. We'll have to see how AMD acknowledges that and kind of moves forward, but maybe this is a precursor to Microsoft at least moving the whole treasure chest of their money and development from Intel and diversifying it to AMD, and then at some point maybe doing some custom stuff with both, because we know that they've done custom work with AMD for Xbox. So maybe the Xbox teams can talk to the Windows team and kind of talk about how they can get more leverage out of AMD for quieter, cooler, and potentially cheaper chips for the Surface line going forward.
And again, the Surface Pro and laptop line weren't refreshed back in October with everything else. So again, we're getting towards the end of the year now, and rumor has it that maybe there might be a refresh coming in January. So now that we're actually hearing about these chips and them being out there in the wild and being tested on Geekbench and appearing on Surface codenamed products, so we could definitely be seeing a Surface refresh coming towards the ending of January once the new year gets up and running.
Now, when we say refresh, again, we're expecting bumps in specs. What I think is that they're taking, this year, which they kind of, what we argue is a year off, and they're just going to kind of give people what they did with the Surface Book. Is here's some beefier specs, and we're going to come back in 2022 with all new redesigns and all new potentially custom chips or just a new diverse lineup of chip settings for people. Again, and I don't think it's a direct competitor to the M1 where they're saying we need to do this because of that. But as the field for computational things are evolving and chipsets are kind of all over the place right now, Microsoft has to take a step back and kind of figure out what's the best business practice for them. And maybe at this point we can see what the proven Qualcomm is, because this is really um, the discussion. It isn't necessarily Intel, because Intel doesn't do mobile chipsets as well. But Qualcomm has now figured out. I think they figured out a way to kind of make their SoC smaller and put more onto it, just like the M1. So if Windows on ARM is going to be any sort of competitor to the Mac on ARM, Snapdragon is where they need to seek their development, where they need to kind of push on that. So again, with all that being said, I think Microsoft is going to take 2021 off. So any of you who are expecting a ton of Surface hardware, maybe don't. So if you're considering buying something this year and you're worried about it being outdated, I wouldn't worry too much about that.
There even was a crazy thing, I think MSPU wrote about it, where they talked about this black version of the Surface Duo apparently with just the same specs. So yeah,
I
doesn't
could
seem like
I
2021 will be all that exciting.
I can actually see a black version of the Surface Duo, and I can actually see them updating the Surface Duo, because since the Surface Duo came out, there was always rumors and talks of a Surface Duo 2 already in the works. So I think at least in next year in 2021, the thing to get hyped about might be the Surface Duo 2 with a better camera, different color options, and this new Snapdragon, which is supposed to have push better photography, better graphics, and run multi-thread more efficiently. So this may be the thing that the Surface Duo needed coming into this year.
Get your checkbooks and your wallets ready.
At least for the Duo. Don't expect anything else out of computers from Microsoft.
So I think that pretty much does it for today, unless you have anything else to add.
No, again, it's always a pleasure hanging out with you, talking tech, and I hope everyone enjoyed these few minutes of information, if you want to call it that.
So thanks everyone for watching, and we hope to see you again next week, same place, same time. Follow us on Twitter at OnMicrosoft. I am at ABACJern, and you are.
At Mindhead1 on Twitter.
And thank you everyone for watching, and we hope to see you again soon.
Stay safe. Wear a mask. Bye.